my point when we talked before was the point we went through the article online and I showed how the footnotes were kind of misleading and they didn't have links when they should have had links and they took things out of context and so on. So I thought, well, let me go look at those footnotes a little bit more in detail. And I was actually kind of shocked at what I came across.
Really?
So I could pull, yeah, I'll show you this.
So there's more, folks. There's more that we didn't get. All right.
It's even worse than we thought.
All right, Jonathan Neville back again. The professor. He's not a professor. He's like, don't call me professor, please. I'm not a professor.
I'm not a professor.
No, but you as an artist, I just watched the movie with my wife the other night about the big eyes. Have you seen that? The lady that painted the big
eyes?
Well, she painted those pictures that were very famous in the 70s, 60s.
Oh, those the kid picture,
50s, 60s. Yeah. And her husband claimed it because she wasn't. He says it was because she wasn't a good salesperson. I think he was just a jerk and wanted to claim he to take all the notoriety away from her, because she eventually decided, hey, I'm going to let everybody know after she divorced him, who I really am. Anyway, and there goes Jonathan into outer space.
Yeah, there's something. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right. What are we talking about, Jonathan? Oh,
well,
I know. Let's talk about It Gets Worse on the Kirk. What's his last name again?
It's Dirk Matt.
Dirk, yeah. Dirk Matt.
It's an article from the March LIAHONA.
Right.
Right. Here's what it looks like if you have a copy.
And this was the one on translation, right?
Yeah. And this is one we talked about before. But because of the response, I've had so many people contacting me because of our interview and my blog post on this, that I thought, well, I'm going to look into it a little more in depth and see what was going on here. So the other thing that's interesting is that these articles only appeared in the United States and Canada edition, if you see that.
Uh-huh.
So the rest of the world, even England, New Zealand, English-speaking countries, they didn't get these articles.
Interesting.
And that is interesting. And I don't know if it's because they think those people don't know much about church history or what the rationale was. But my point when we talked before was the point we went through the article online and I showed how the footnotes were kind of misleading and they didn't have links when they should have had links and they took things out of context and so on. So I thought, well, let me go look at those footnotes a little bit more in detail. And I was actually kind of shocked at what I came across.
Really?
So I can pull, yeah, I'll show you this.
So there's more, folks. There's more that we didn't get. All right.
It's even worse than we thought. And I'll share my screen here just to show you. Because if
and by the way, folks, I want you to know that Jonathan loves these people that he's talking about. He just disagrees with them, and a lot of you do too.
Yeah, that's right. And they're great people. They're solid historians, scholars, fine Latter-day Saints, all that. It's just that they write these articles that are misleading, and it's
right.
bewildering to me. So here's the one. It's on my blog. We'll have the link in your show notes. But this was you can see this was our previous conversation about it.
Yes.
Right? And so when I looked down in here, I thought, well, I'm going to look at one of his footnotes. And he quoted the very first footnote in there was a passage from Wilford Woodruff's journal. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I wonder what else is on that page in the journal. And so I'm going to stop this section here, stop that screen share, because I want to show you Wilford Woodruff's actual journal.
Okay.
All right. And this is pretty interesting. For those who haven't looked at Wilford Woodruff's journal before, how to take a look at it sometime. But here it is. So I think you can see it now, right?
Yes.
And see where it says here, he kind of outlined this where it says Book of Mormon, sacred treasure, who knoweth the value? So the part that he quoted was here where it says, I, Wilford Woodruff, son of his father Woodruff, have read the Book of Mormon much during the last 12 years of my life, and my soul delighteth much in its words, teaching and prophesying. But when you move down here a little bit more, he says, where it says on the side here, bringing, about halfway down, bringing it to light in our day and generation, it teaches the honest and humble mind of the great things of God that were performed in the land of promise, now called America, in ancient days. So here, we've had this discussion about where the Book of Mormon took place. What was the land of promise? Here in the same journal that Dirk Matt cited, he didn't mention this part, where Wilford Woodruff explicitly said that the land of promise is this land of
Is
America,
right.
now called America. Okay, so
Well, I mean, you
then
can take that as North Central and South America
you can,
total.
you could,
Right.
until you look at the next page of his journal. This is
Ah.
this
Ooh.
is this is what is really amazing. Okay, this
Okay.
is pretty. So right here on the next page, oh wait, that's the same one. Sorry, trying to get the other page up here. On the next page of his journal, and I have the link in this blog. We'll put it in your show notes if people want to
Sure.
read it right out of
Absolutely.
it. Okay, so on the next page of his journal, let's see. Okay, at the top it says, "Years of slumber and come to the knowledge of the true God, which their fathers worshipped, till they fell into transgression." Also, this precious treasure sets clearly before the honest reader the fate and destiny of the American nation and of all the Gentile nations. So when he talked about America, he wasn't talking about the continent or the hemisphere.
Right.
He says American nation right here. So, all these people that say, well, he wasn't talking about the American nation, that's literally what he said right here in his journal. And then further down here, and all the Gentiles of the nation of the earth, unless they speedily repent of their sins and humble themselves, and so forth. Then further down here, he talks about the coming forth of the Book of Mormon. Now, remember, you have to remember that in his article, Dirk Matt tried to make the case that Joseph Smith used the stone in the hat, right? The seer stone, not the
Right.
Urim and Thummim. So right down here, he says the commencement of this great work of and dispensation was like a grain of mustard seed, even small. The plates containing the Book of Mormon was revealed to Joseph Smith and delivered unto him by an angel of God in the month of September 1827, and translated through the Urim and Thummim into the English language by Joseph Smith the prophet. So here's Wilford Woodruff saying that Joseph Smith translated the plates into English with the Urim and Thummim. But Dirk Matt never mentions this in an article about the translation when he's quoting Wilford Woodruff. He just
So
left this
how
out.
many omissions have we have you counted all of these redacted or omitted parts?
Yeah, I haven't added them up, but
Well, so
every
far
paragraph.
since we've talked on the first video in here, I would say at least 7 or 8 different
Oh yeah, at
times
least.
where something's either not a clickable link
You're right.
or you go to it and you can't go any further. You can only go right to where.
That's right. Right to that
So
page.
you are bridled to what you're going to see.
Yeah.
That's not
And
fair.
well, and what's hilarious is he had to know that this material was in the journal because he cited the journal and quoted from it.
Right.
And yet he omitted it. So his readers have no idea what's in here.
Right.
And when I read this, I've read through Wilford Woodruff's journal before, but it's hard because it hasn't been indexed, it's not searchable. And so I had forgotten about these passages in here that fortunately he linked to it. He didn't link to it actually. He cited it and it wasn't easy to find. But when I did find it and I kept reading it beyond what he had quoted, I found
Uh-huh.
these passages, which are amazing, astonishing, actually, that he
Right.
should have included. And so I'm just starting on this more
And
in-depth review of this article.
and at the same time, you're not feeling, oh my goodness. Like, okay, the spirit of condemning this man doesn't come into your heart. What
No,
really is
not
coming
at
into your
all.
heart is, oh, wow, this is amazing.
Yes,
This
it
is
is.
amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
And
And
and I'm perplexed why he didn't include this. And it could have been the editor, but anyone reading that article, especially when he quotes from Wilford Woodruff's journal, is entitled to have a link to the journal so they can read it for themselves and learn
well,
that he talked about the nation of America and translating with the Urim and Thummim.
can I tell you something? You know how there's documents and things in history that some scholars will not, just like, here's a good example, right? These last two videos, this one and the one
Right.
before, that scholars cherry pick what they want to use as their evidence or their what they want to cite or reference, right?
Yeah.
I had denied. I had, you know how I talked about my exhibits A through E?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, here's another insight. You're right. And what was the other insight I had? It was good, but anyway, I always come up with them. The other
Yeah.
one is, what part of the Book of Mormon talks about the angel showing the three witnesses, all of the exhibits? Is that
Well,
the
the bookworm
testimony of
says,
the three witnesses, right? Does the
yeah, yeah.
testimony of the three witnesses, yes, that talks about the angels, their experience with the angel, him laying everything on the table. There was a table in
Well,
front of them.
that's not in their witnesses statement.
Okay, well, either way, the witnesses statement mentions the Urim and Thummim, right?
No, it just mentions the. Okay, you're talking about two different things. The three witnesses statement just mentions the plates.
Okay,
The DNC 17 talks about the
that's right.
things that they.
DNC 17.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if DNC 17 was not ever part of the Doctrine and Covenants, they probably would have redacted that out as well. Or
They would.
it would
Well,
have
they certainly
stayed,
don't. Say.
it would have stayed in a vault somewhere,
Yeah.
right? Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
surprised there wasn't exhibits A through D and the Urim and Thummim was missing.
Yeah. One thing we have to recognize here when we talk about these scholars and the historians and so on is the psychology of confirmation bias. And studies have shown that when you are so convinced of something, you cannot even um, read. You literally can't read material that contradicts your beliefs. You'll read right over it like it's not even there.
Right.
And it's partly because in a fear scenario, parts of our brain shut down and our perception is altered. And so I don't know that when these guys read Wilford Woodruff's journal, he may have read the words, but they didn't register on them. So he didn't think they were relevant. But think about this. Here's an article supposed to educate the Latter-day Saints about the translation of the Book of Mormon. He cites a page from Wilford Woodruff's journal, which talks about how much he appreciated the Book of Mormon. The very next page, Wilford Woodruff says Joseph Smith translated the plates into English with the Urim and Thummim, and he doesn't even put that in. You know,
I
it's
know.
amazing.
I know.
And so I don't accuse him of intentionally doing it because I don't know the reason, but
Well,
it could
of
have
course
just
you're not going to accuse him of it, but sometimes what
quacks and looks and walks like a duck. I'm sorry.
I'll say that. You don't have
Okay.
to.
I
I'll,
don't because yeah.
I'll say it. Okay, because
Okay.
it does look like that to me. But go ahead.
Well, everybody can see it for themselves now.
Right.
So
And I
we're
know
gonna
you
go
would
through
never
all
say
the
that
rest.
because he is a colleague of yours and you respect him. I know
Yeah.
you do because I've heard you
I do.
off
Yeah, I do.
off air. You highly respect the guy.
Yeah. And we're going to go through the rest of the article in that kind of detail as well and see what else was omitted. I mean, our first broadcast, we showed the article. We showed how the links were dead
Right.
and they changed the wording of some of the quotations and so on. But we're going to go through it in even more detail, see what other hidden gems there are that people should
So
know
there might
about.
be a part 3.
There might be a part 3.
Okay.
Well,
But, and brothers and sisters, this is not mean spirited, but you have a right to know. Do you not have a right to know? Should we keep, and Jonathan always feels apologetic about what he's saying. That's why he's an apologist. But because apologists apologize for being Latter-day Saints. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Neville is not doing this. I know him. He's not doing this because he wants to attack these people, but we would be doing you guys a disservice if we did not bring anything like this to light.
Absolutely.
Right?
What we hope is, yeah, and the reason is we should all be able to trust what's in the LIAHONA, right? It should be completely reliable, informative, and useful. And that article isn't. So we have to do better in the future. And hopefully, if that article gets published to the saints outside the United States and Canada, it's fixed.
That's right.
So they don't get misled. I'd love to see corrections. They'll never publish corrections in here, but it would be nice if they had a correction in there to say, well, the previous article omitted some things and didn't have links and really needed to be rewritten.
That's right.
So in the future, that's what we're aiming for is
All right.
good clarity, charity, and understanding in the LIAHONA in the future, right?
That's right. Thank you so much, brother.
Good to be with you. Thanks.
It's good to be with you as well.